In the last episode, you heard from Matt Johnson, co-founder and CEO of Omnia Fishing, who shared how they've leveraged user-generated data to both grow the e-commerce store and actually build a software platform, both of which feed into each other. It was a unique and mind-blowing conversation. I highly recommend you give it a listen. Now, today on episode number 46, well, get ready. We've got Justin Soleimani and Zach Danett, who are both co-founders and co-CEOs of Tumble, a high eight-figure D2C brand that makes beautiful, spill-proof, and washable rugs. Now, today, we'll actually be talking about how they've used crowdfunding to start the company and how they've optimized their product design process to set the brand for success. Now, I'm your host, Raphael Paulin-Daigle, and I'm the founder of SplitBase. This is Minds of E-commerce. Now, this episode is brought to you by SplitBase. At SplitBase, we help leading 8- and 9-figure brands such as Dr Squatch, Hyperice, and Amica grow through customer-focused conversion optimization programs. Our programs pinpoint exactly where your store is losing money most, and then, well, we help you fix it. The result, you get increased conversions, higher AOV, and of course, more money, which in return allow you to scale advertising profitably. We've been at it for a decade and can help you manage your CRO process from A to Z, from customer research, conversion design, strategy, copywriting, and development. We focus on growing your e-commerce sales so you can focus on what you do best. Go to splitbase.com to request a proposal today and learn how we can help you get the most out of your marketing spend. All right, Justin, Zach, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
For having us. Great to be here.
Yeah, now you guys are co-founders and co-CEOs. You've had a lot of success building this brand in what I would say is probably a bit of a difficult market because we're talking big products that are, not $5, of course. And there's a bit more of a consideration process that probably goes into buying these products. Just to give our listeners maybe a bit of context, can you tell us what type of growth you've had over the past couple of years and when the company was founded?
Sure, Zach, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, you can.
Sure, yeah. So Zach and I co-founded the business in late 2019 is actually when we incorporated the business, but we spent about a year and change in product development, which we'll talk about on this call. But we actually launched with a crowdfunding campaign in October of 2020. And then we went off and manufactured the goods for those crowdfunding backers. And then we actually launched the brand in April of 2021. So we're approaching our 4-year anniversary in just about a month or so. And yeah, business is growing really well. We're 100% D2C online through our website, tumbleliving.com. And we've scaled the business to close to 9 figures in revenue at this point, with plans of, exceeding the 9-figure mark in 2025.
Amazing. Now, 4 years, close to 9 figures. Obviously, there's been a lot of brands in this category that also haven't been able to get the type of growth that you guys have had. What would you say when you're kind of looking back at when you started the business? What did you guys do that was maybe unique to Tumble that really got you guys to where you are today?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is how thoughtful we were about the product itself. We spent somewhere around 16 months developing the product. And a lot of other companies that we've seen in the D2C space, from concept to launch is just a couple of months because they're much more focused on the marketing side of the business. We started very much with a product-centric approach. And what we did over that period of time is we looked at the competitive landscape. We wanted to understand exactly who was in the space, what they were doing, how they were doing it. And then we wanted to differentiate ourselves and create a better product. And so in that 16-month period of time, we came up with a product that we believed was better more cost effective, and then ultimately was patented. We could patent it. And actually, it was just a couple of months ago that we got our patent. So it was a very long process. So, 15, 16 months to develop it, and then 4+ years going back and forth with the patent office. But we're proud to say today that we have a utility patent to protect the product itself.
Amazing. Now, I know when we were talking earlier, you said there are specific steps and specific things that you've done to optimize the product. So it is optimized for D2C and for selling online. What are some of those things that you guys have done that you also think is probably core to your success?
Yeah, so I can chat about that. So when you think about a good category for the e-commerce kind of space, typically what people look for are high AOV, so high value products that ship very efficiently. So they're very small, compact, and there's a lot of value in a small amount of space. Obviously, when you think of rugs, you wouldn't think of it as a category that meets those criteria. Most rugs on the market, conventional rugs, they're very large, obviously, and they're typically rolled. So
Hmm.
when we looked at the competitive landscape, a lot of the traditional rug e-commerce brands or even other washable brands, what they were effectively doing was they were taking a rug that was designed and optimized for the physical world, rolling it up, putting it in a box, and then shipping it in an e-commerce environment. Um, we looked at that and thought that that felt wasteful and that there was room to basically opt that, and that by optimizing that and making it more cost effective, we could then pass those savings on to our end consumers. And so Zach actually had a lot of experience working in furniture, what they call knockdown furniture, where they would take furniture and for
Hmm.
e-com and knock it down into small boxes. And we basically applied that same approach to the rug category. So after that year and a change of iteration, what we landed on was a concept where the rug pad itself, rather than being one piece, is actually modularly designed, almost like a gym puzzle mat or a
Interesting.
kid's puzzle mat. So it provides just the right amount of cushion. It's a 1/4 inch thick. It's EVA foam. It has non-slip surfaces on both sides, but it can basically be disassembled and collapsed and stacked, right? And then we are able to fold the rug and put the rug on top of it. And that way we can achieve a much smaller footprint on the boxes, which makes the warehousing more efficient, the inbound shipping from our manufacturers, and then the outbound shipping to the end consumers much more efficient, which gives us basically a competitive edge on cost. And then also, like another variable you might not think about is, our business is bootstrapped. We didn't raise any outside capital. And so when we were starting, when we were trying to find 3PLs, third-party logistics providers, many of them have size constraints, and they'll tell you like if you come to them with a 10-foot long box for a 10-foot long rug, they'll just be like, sorry, we're not interested. And when you don't have the volume to convince them because you're just getting started, that can be a really hard conversation. So we were able to overcome a lot of those challenges by coming to them with like a really thoughtfully designed package that fits easily onto their shelves and, makes their lives easier as well.
And then just to double click on one aspect. So yeah, it's optimized basically for inbound, for storage, and for outbound. Within the outbound space, you wouldn't know this unless you've been in the e-commerce world, that FedEx and UPS, they have the same guidelines, but they're very specific guidelines. They will charge you more money if it's over 50 pounds, if the longest side's over 48, the second longest side's over 30. It's like a lot of what seems to be very arbitrary rules. But if you break one of those rules, you could pay upwards of $30. Or if that $30, let's say, gets discounted, maybe it's $15. Well, $15 is a huge amount of money in an industry that typically has relatively low margins. And so we went rule by rule and just optimize it perfectly to fit on a pallet. How many can we fit in a container? So to what Justin was saying, but we were very specific around each element of the product
Hmm.
size, how it folds, etc.
Super interesting. Now, you guys are, I think, talking a lot as well about that optimization process for logistics. I'm also curious, has there been any thought around the optimization of the product for the marketing part of things? On a marketing standpoint, are there things that you have to do in a certain way versus other things?
Well, I mean, I do think that the unique design of, of our rug pad is actually a selling point that works really
Mm.
well, in the marketing realm. So having a differentiated product that stands out and that jumps off the page when someone's scrolling through an Instagram feed, I do think makes a big difference. And so when they see something that's a bit out of the box, no pun intended, that catches their attention and makes it, something that they're more likely to click on and want to learn more about. But in terms of like, yeah, I think that kind of like element of how the packaging not only feeds into the logistics aspect, but also feeds into the marketing is something that
Yeah.
we often overlook, honestly, internally as a business, but I think it's definitely
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. In terms of design, we've just really focused on creating beautiful designs that we think are going to sell well. We have a few of the best rug designers in the world that we've been very fortunate to work with. And we want to have an assortment for everyone, but it's a highly curated assortment. We have less than 100 rugs today.
Mm.
Other companies have 10,000 rugs, and the buying experience is actually really complicated because you have different materials at different prices and then 10,000 designs. We have one material, each size has one very specific price. Our rugs are, if we say a rug is an 8 by 10, it's exactly 8 feet by 10 feet. And then we have what we believe to be the best designs. And the other thing is that all of our designs are done in-house, and many of them are hand
Mm.
painted and hand drawn. And so we're really proud of the fact that we've created all the designs that we're selling versus a lot of other companies, they go to their manufacturer and just say, "Hey, could you show me the 1,000 rug designs that you have?" And then, that's what they put forward to the market. We like having unique designs that are just specific to Tumble and most importantly, that are beautiful.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some pretty good takeaways here. One, one of the things is you guys started, obviously at a time where a lot of D2C brands were marketing first and not actually product first. And a lot of those brands, right, they don't really exist anymore. Some of them manage to kind of survive and find their angle, but a lot of them are gone. I think that focus on product for you guys, it was very intentional, it sounds. And what you're saying about the optimization, it sounds like there's the optimization of the logistics. But what you're telling me, Zach, right now as well is there's really an optimization in terms like all across the product line because I'm thinking for manufacturing, you're using one material. Kill your worst performers, right? And I'm sure you
Right.
only keep the top performers. Like it does simplify the experience. And one thing, we've seen in conversion optimization is often the more SKUs you add, people tend to think the more
Yeah.
you're likely to convert. But very
Mhm.
often you're just leading to analysis paralysis.
Right.
Yeah. I think to build on what you said, brands back then were marketing first and we're product first. I definitely think that's true. I also think we are, economics first, which those
Mm.
brands weren't, right? Again, by working within the constraint of like we were a bootstrap business, we still are. We didn't plan on raising outside capital. We had to be profitable from day one. It wasn't a choice, right? So we designed our product to be efficient for all the reasons I just mentioned, in part to give great value to end consumers, but also in part to keep our overhead low, to keep the complexity low. We didn't have the luxury of being able to offer 1,000 SKUs on day one because we had raised some war chests from VCs, we had to
Mm.
be super thoughtful and targeted. And so we were product first and we were very much like profitability first. And that led to a more sustainable business model that obviously now we have more profit that we can reinvest in the business and take a little more risk. But we were very, very thoughtful and targeted to start.
Amazing. We've only got a couple minutes left, but I'm curious, what would you say maybe has been one of the biggest challenges in scaling this type of brand? Is there like one challenge that sticks out?
I would say the biggest challenge today it relates to tariffs.
Mm.
Um, we manufacture 100% in China, and we're looking to diversify our manufacturing base outside of China. So the last year has been extremely challenging thinking about where we could move our manufacturing, how to move our manufacturing. And um, luckily we were pretty early here looking towards other countries. But it's been extremely difficult because people who aren't in manufacturing will always say, well, why don't you produce it in the US or just leave China? It's much easier said than done. I would say we're very fortunate in one sense that our manufacturer in China has opted to move his entire factory to another country in Southeast Asia.
Mm.
And so part of our plan is to just move with him instead of move
Yeah.
away from him. But I would say that stands out to me, at least, just in terms of a recency basis, like the most challenging thing.
Very relevant for sure. Now, Justin, Zach, thank you so much for sharing everything you've shared today. Now, if people want to learn more about you guys, about Tumble, where should they go?
I
Our
mean, check us
website.
out on our website, tumbleliving.com. And then you can also find us on social. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram at Tumble Living, Living. Um,
Is it
oh,
at
actually, we're
Tumble?
at Tumble Rugs, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're at Tumble Rugs on social. We're tumbleliving.com. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for today and have an awesome rest of your week.
All right. Thanks for having us. This has been
Thank
fun.
you.